Hey grade 7s, welcome to lesson 3.1. This is the beginning of chapter 3, the British in North America. Today we're going to focus on mercantilism. What is it? How does it affect different perspectives? So stick around and let's learn something. The British in North America. Welcome to Chapter 3. We are still in Unit 1, our pre-Confederation unit. We've talked about the three First Nations that the Europeans made contact with. Then we talked about the French. And now it is time to discuss and talk about and learn about the British in North America. The overall question, our inquiry question that we are going to answer by studying this chapter is, what kind of society did the British colonists create in North America? And this is happening along the same time as the French are building their colonies, as well as the Spanish are building their colonies. Our concept for this chapter is mercantilism, or some of you will say mercantilism. Either or, doesn't matter. Mercantilism, we will talk about what that is in a couple of minutes, maybe even less. A lot of vocabulary words this time around. Chapter 1 had over 20. Chapter 2 had over 20. Chapter 3 only has these ones. Mercantilism, citizens, Rupert's Land, factories, and factor. Well, I'm going to give you the first one right now. What is mercantilism? It's the selling of resources from colonies. So the colonies were selling their resources. Well, the colonies weren't selling their resources. The home country was selling the resources. The colony was supplying those resources. The fish, furs, the wood, iron ore, everything that the colonies were producing, the home country was selling. Mercantilism. This meant that the home country didn't have to buy from other countries. Everything that they needed was being supplied to from the colonies, so it's free for the home country. Not free for the people buying it. The people are still going to buy them, but free for the country to bring them in. A bonus here is that if you've got excess of these resources, you can then sell them to countries that need them, and now you're making a profit. And the perspectives on this idea of mercantilism is definitely going to be a lot different depending on where you are. And we'll take a look at this image right here. This is mercantilism. So the king, we're going to start in the top right-hand side. The king's perspective is going to be, well, our colonies are making us richer and more powerful than the rest of Europe. So the king is going to love this idea of mercantilism. An English merchant living in England, well, he is going to say that the colonists need fine goods and we are more than willing to sell them to them, but at a higher price. So from a merchant point of view, this is awesome. They are in the home country. So what about the colonies? How are they going to feel? Well, a colonist or a colonialist, the English colonist, life in the colonies is so hard. England charges high taxes and controls everything we do. Still, though, we'd rather be living here than in England. For a colonist, they're like, well, yeah, life is hard, things are really tough, but we're still better off than living in England. At least here we have more freedoms. And the king is so far away across that ocean that, this is a nice feeling over here. And from a First Nation perspective, these English newcomers not only want furs, they also want to take the land that is our home. So the First Nations, obviously, they're not going to enjoy this because they are losing land to the colonists. So these are the different perspectives on mercantilism. What I'd like you to do now is I want you to head over to your notebook and complete the questions for this part of the chapter.